Now that we've talked about where to locate our functions, let's talk about how we typically construct them. Before I do, let me explain that I'm not going to take the typical approach and throw a foo and a bar function at you. I'm going to actually tell a story and try to keep things interesting. The previous slide was presented to make sure we had the basics covered. From here on, we're going to team up and work together on a project given to us by our boss and the company we work for, Squares Incorporated. Let's assume it's named after the product it produces and not the employees. Our company recently launched their website and they want to start including some HTML5 drawings on it. Their first request is to draw the company logo, a square, in the upper left-hand corner of the page. We'll create a simple function that uses HTML5 and draws on the browser canvas. I picked this example because it gives us a chance to experience the way functions morph in their complexity in real-world situations. It's also a great teaser for those of you who haven't taken the plunge into HTML5 topics yet. Here's the situation. Our boss just charged into our cramped little cubicle and shouted incomplete instructions to draw a square on the website in the upper left-hand corner. Now, having been chastised in the past for thinking too much and introducing scope creep into our work, we commit to doing only what was asked of us. We're going to just draw a square. Our company logo is a silver square with a black border. Not too exciting, I agree, but the graphics department has issues we won't get into right now. Let's look at the first version of our function. We have a simple HTML5 page that has a canvas tag for our use. We're omitting the rest of the web page that was created by someone else because, frankly, we didn't write it. We have included a simple style tag that sets a radial gradient background in Firefox. We did this to show the boundaries of the canvas and because the guy in the next cubicle says he doesn't think it can be done. Bragging rights will soon be ours. Within the canvas tag is a message that will only be displayed in browsers that don't support the HTML5 canvas. This works to our advantage because new browsers understand what to do with the canvas tag and older browsers don't. When an older browser encounters a tag it knows nothing about, it renders it as a containing tag, like a div or a paragraph, and just displays whatever it contains. The only time we'll see the message is when the browser isn't HTML5 compliant. The draw function that we've created is contained in the KSM namespace, which exists at the global level. We did a little research, and that name seems unique within the libraries that are in use. We first get the canvas element from the page with the standard JavaScript function getElementById. We're not doing much error checking at this point. The boss said he wants it quickly, and we don't have time to do it right. Of course, we'll somehow find time to do it over if it breaks. We do check to make sure the getContext method exists for the canvas object. This is a necessary check. For browsers that don't support the canvas, the message in the HTML tag will notify the user, but there's nothing that notifies JavaScript. We need to verify our JavaScript code will run without an error. If the getContext method isn't defined, the function just doesn't do anything. The canvas commands are executed against a canvas context. Once we have that, we set the stroke style to a black color and set the fill style to a silver color. Any RGB color value or name color value would have worked, but the graphics department apparently hasn't discovered color yet. Once we have the stroke and fill values, we specify the rectangle to operate within. Those repeated numerical values used in the fillRect and strokeRect methods just scream for variable names, don't they? Tens and hundreds do little to describe what each parameter is trying to accomplish. We looked up the documentation and determined that the fillRect and strokeRect take the same parameters: left, top, width, and height. Since we are only creating this function to do one thing, draw our logo, there doesn't seem to be any reason to do anything differently at this time. Outside of the namespace object, we call our newly created draw function. Loading this page with Firefox produces the following result. As you can see, we get an outlined rectangle on the screen. The canvas is shown with a radial gradient. That should be good for a few days worth of bragging rights. The square is located 10 pixels in from the left and 10 pixels down from the top. It's also 100 pixels high and wide. If you're following along and use Internet Explorer 8, you'll get a message stating that the canvas is not supported. You can also see the message if you take a later version of Internet Explorer and run it in compatibility mode to make it impersonate an older version. This first version of our function is contained in the global scope, but in our own namespace. It currently doesn't accept parameters, though we've already identified a need for some variables, if only to make the fillRect and strokeRect method calls more readable. It doesn't do much error checking, but it at least verifies the canvas context is available before trying to make use of it. We're ready to publish our work to the web and await accolades from the boss.